It was Christmas Eve, 1971. 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke sat on a plane with her mother, excited to go home for the holidays. The aircraft, LANSA Flight 508, soared high above the Amazon rainforest, cutting through a sky that looked calm. Too calm. Suddenly, turbulence. The seatbelts tightened, drinks spilled, passengers gasped. Within seconds, lightning struck. A deafening explosion ripped through the cabin. The plane tilted violently. People screamed. Oxygen masks dropped. Luggage flew like missiles. Juliane's hand clutched her mother's arm. But the next moment, everything vanished into pure chaos. The plane broke apart mid-air. Juliane was pulled out, still strapped into her seat, spinning helplessly, falling from 10,000 feet straight into the endless green hell of the Amazon. Wind roared in her ears. Trees rushed upward like spears waiting to kill. Her eyes shut. A silent prayer escaped her lips. Then darkness. Hours later, she woke up. She was lying on the jungle floor, surrounded by shattered wreckage and dead silence. Her head throbbed. One shoe is missing. Her collarbone was broken. Her eyes could barely focus. She called for her mother. No answer. She stood, dizzy, and realized something unthinkable. She was the only one alive, alone, broken, in the middle of the most dangerous jungle on Earth. But her nightmare had only just begun. Juliane forced herself to stand. Every breath hurts. Every step felt like knives pushing through her body. She had survived the fall, but the Amazon doesn't let outsiders live for long. Poisonous insects, deadly predators, heat that melts your strength, and rain that never ends. Juliane looked up. The sky was almost invisible beneath the thick jungle roof. She listened. Nothing but the buzzing of insects and the distant croaks of unseen creatures. Her eyesight blurred. Her right eye had swollen shut. Blood ran down her arms and legs. But she remembered one thing, something her father had taught her. If you find water, follow it. Water always leads to people. And so, she walked. Branches tore at her skin. Ants crawled into her cuts. Mosquitoes feasted on her blood. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Mama, please be alive." Hours passed. The smell of rotting bodies lingered in the air, a reminder that death wasn't far behind. She found a small creek, clear water trickling through the jungle floor. Hope. She drank, her hands shaking, and began to follow the stream. But the Amazon was watching her. Every shadow had eyes. A jaguar could be nearby. Deadly snakes hid under leaves. Night arrived fast, like someone had turned off the lights. Thunder growled above the trees, and rain crashed through the branches. Juliane curled up under the roots of a giant tree, alone in the darkness. Her heart beat loudly, like the jungle wanted to silence it. She whispered to herself, "I will not die here." Lightning flashed, and the forest roared back. Juliane closed her eyes, praying to see the sunrise. Morning came quietly, but Juliane's nightmare wasn't over. Her body shivered with fever. Every muscle burned with pain. But she forced herself up and kept walking along the stream. Hours passed. The water widened, turning into a slow, winding river. Juliane heard something in the distance. a familiar buzzing sound. Flies, a terrible smell filled the air. She followed the sound and froze. A cluster of airplane seats floated near the riverbank, with bodies still strapped in. Passengers who never stood a chance. Some were face down in the water, others tangled in vines, and one body, her breath caught. A woman wearing a dress she recognized, her mother's dress. Juliane stumbled forward. "No, Mama, please." She touched the woman's skin, cold and silent. Tears fell, but she couldn't stay. The jungle didn't allow grief. Not here. She pressed her forehead to her mother's hand. "Mama, I'll survive. I promise." Then she turned and walked away from the only family she had left. The river became her guide. She waded through knee-deep water because the riverbank was too dangerous. But that choice invited a new horror. Parasitic fish, sharp rocks slicing her feet. And worst of all, maggots had begun to grow inside the wounds on her arms. She scratched, but they were buried deep under the skin. Weakness tried to take control, but she kept hearing her father's voice. "Keep moving, never stop." As day turned to night, Juliane kept walking, her legs trembling, her mind is fading. Thunder rolled again. The jungle wanted her to lose hope, to give up, to disappear forever. But Juliane stared into the darkness and whispered, "I will live." Juliane's body was at its limit, starving, dehydrated, burning with infection. Every step felt like lifting a mountain. The rainforest was no longer just dangerous. It felt alive, watching her, waiting for her to collapse. As she followed the river, the water suddenly darkened, and something large slid past her legs. Her heart froze. A giant anaconda surfaced nearby, its black eyes reflecting hunger. Juliane stood perfectly still, too weak to run. The snake stared, and then, silently, drifted away. She exhaled the breath she wasn't aware she was holding. She tried eating leaves, but remembered her father's strict rules. If you don't recognize it, don't eat it. So hunger continued to torture her. Her stomach was twisting painfully. By the third day, exhaustion consumed her mind. Trees looked like people. Voices whispered from behind the vines. Her vision blurred. "Mama, Papa." But when she blinked, nothing, just the endless green. Her legs finally gave out. She collapsed beside the riverbank. She thought, maybe this is where I die. But then, a sound, a deep, distant buzzing. Not flies, not insects, engines. Juliane's eyes shot open. A boat. There was a boat somewhere nearby. Strength surged through her veins like electricity. She pushed herself up, stumbling, falling, crawling. Every leaf cut her skin. Every breath felt like fire. But she didn't stop. At last, she saw it. A small wooden hut built by local lumber workers. Civilization, humanity, hope. She waved her arms and screamed, "Help, please." But no one heard her. The workers were gone, days away. Her vision darkened. She leaned against the wall and passed out. Juliane woke up hours later, still alone in the hut. The buzzing sound was louder now, mosquitoes swarming her exposed wounds. Her right arm was badly infected, maggots crawling inside the open gash. Most people would scream in horror. But Juliane remembered her father's lessons. Maggots eat the dead flesh. They keep the wound clean. She gritted her teeth and allowed them to save her life. She searched the hut and found a can of gasoline. No food, no medicine, just fuel. She poured a little on her wound. She screamed. It felt like her arm was on fire. But the maggots stopped moving, killed instantly. She wrapped the wound tightly with a discarded cloth and waited. Hours later, voices, real voices, men, talking outside. She tried to shout, but only a weak whisper escaped. "Help, please." The door opened, and 3 lumber workers stepped inside. They froze, shocked. A teenage girl, bleeding, half blind, half alive. Dios mío, they ran to her, carefully lifted her into their arms. Juliane felt herself rise away from the death that stalked her. She was going home. They carried her to a boat and navigated through the river for 10 long hours. The jungle watched her leave. But this time, she wasn't afraid. She stared at the sky and whispered, "Mama, I made it." Doctors were stunned. A 17-year-old survived. A plane explosion, a 10,000-foot fall, the deadliest rainforest on Earth, hunger, infections, and predators. 9 days completely alone. Her mother had died in the crash, but her father was alive. When he entered her hospital room, he burst into tears. He hugged her tightly and said, "You came back to me, my brave girl." Juliane didn't let tragedy define her. She studied biology, just like her parents wanted. And today, she protects the Amazon rainforest that once tried to destroy her. She educates the world about survival, science, and the delicate balance of nature. She is living proof that hope is stronger than death. If you want more unbelievable true survival stories, don't forget to subscribe, because this is CineVibe TV.